Jay here for Stretford Paddock. That's Joe Smith. Bournemouth 1, Manchester United 1. That is the live review. This is the live review. So get involved in the chat and the comments. Rasmus Hojlund with a late equaliser after Bournemouth obviously got the opener in the first half, then went out 10 men in the second half. Joe, how do you sum up that performance, that game? Because we know the league isn't that important, really, if we're being honest, because we've, all eyes are on Europe. But you still want to win matches. You still want to end this horrific run we're on. I think we've lost 15 so far already this season. So what did you make of that performance, and what did you make of what it means?
I think the last 15 or 10 minutes might be clouding my judgment a little bit, because after their red card, as you'd expect, United looked good. And we controlled the game, and we had all the ball, or most of the ball, and we had the ball in and around their box a lot, which is what Amorim wants. I saw some good signs in terms of, runs off the ball. I thought Garnacho and Shaw and Bruno and different people rotating in and out of that left hand side linked up well. Some good runs off the ball. Mason Mount getting involved in that as well. There's a spell where we're repeating patterns and ball into Garnacho, squaring it back to the sort of edge of the 6-yard box, back to the penalty spot. And I thought it looked quite good. And I can see there are signs of things improving. And United made a lot of half chances today. There weren't loads and loads of chances, but there were a lot of half chances, and that accumulated a lot of overall sort of efforts for United. And I thought that we should probably have got 2 goals today. I think we deserved 2 goals. But there's still so many times where, especially in the first half, where our technique and our just intensity isn't there. And the lack of both of those is just a killer. That's why we never win. Because when you need to do something difficult, we can't do it. And when you need to just work hard to get out of a sticky situation, we struggle to do that as well. So it's no coincidence that we haven't won a game in 5. But I do think that there were some signs, especially at the end, and it can't just have to take 10 men every week, because you don't play against 10 men most weeks. But there were some signs that they're trying to learn and do different patterns. It's a shame it's always too little too late, isn't it?
Yeah, it is too little too late. And like you say, towards the end you can see that. But you want to see it from the start. You want to build a little bit of confidence. If we'd have got a result today, a proper result, not a draw, then you could take that into Thursday and think, okay, good, we've gone to a difficult ground, we've turned up, we've shown we can still sort of, play against teams at a decent Premier League standard. But it just seems like it raises more questions than answers. Get involved in the chat and a comment and let us know what you think. Kurt Beaver says, poor performance as always, no chance versus Bilbao. Cal Nore says, Mount has had some good chances in the games he's played, should be scoring. Trisman says, Bournemouth only had 1 shot on target. Linville B says, decision making in and out of ball are just poor. Daydreamer83 says, United don't have a CM physical bully who can also carry the ball and is decent in progressive passing. United too limited in most regards. No one else in the first team fits profile.
A lot. You're asking for quite a bit there.
Yeah.
A physical bully who's very good on the ball and off the ball. There aren't that many of them playing at all.
No.
Generally, not Bournemouth didn't have one of them today. Most teams don't have. That's a specific and difficult skill set to kind of to get. I don't think United were terrible today. I think if you're looking at, I'm not saying that we should be, only as good as Bournemouth, but I think it was a pretty even game, and one that actually, if anyone was going to win it, and part of it's because of the red card, but they got themselves sent off, not us. We were the team that should have won this game today, if either of us should. I think we're so ground down by recent results and recent performances. I say recent, the last basically 2 years now. It's been shocking, hasn't it, to watch. But I think that if you look at that game objectively, United were the better of the 2 teams. And I do think that, yes, there's still a lot to work on, and I said some of the weaknesses before, but I don't think it was like a terrible performance today, do you?
No, it wasn't.
It was just a bit flat, but I don't think we were bad.
It's the same old. It's the thing we talk about every week, me and you, Joe. Yep. We sit here and we say the same things. There's good signs, there's certain parts are good, certain things that aren't good enough, too sloppy, giving away silly goals, but in that final third, we are lacking. I know Rasmus Hojlund obviously got a goal today, and if you wanted anyone to score, you'd want him to score, take that hopefully to Bilbao. But overall, though, in that final third, there isn't that quality there. There isn't that match winner there that you think, okay, once he gets on the ball, he's going to do something. Garnacho had a lot of the ball, he had a lot of shots, I felt as well. Not many of them were on target, or some of them got smothered before they even got to the target. Mount came on, I think he had a couple of shots. Cheeto had a shot. I think Manu in the first half had a shot. But there wasn't many. Garnacho, you mentioned, had another shot as well, which was saved. But there wasn't many times where Kepa had to produce amazing saves to stop us scoring. And I know Bournemouth are a decent team, and I know United are struggling, but you'd expect United to be able to go to somewhere like the Vitale and take the game to them, get at them. But we're just not capable of that.
But I don't expect this team to do that. And I know, you're not saying
that's
that.
That's what we should be doing, though.
Yeah,
because regardless of how, well Bournemouth have done with their transfer policies and the scouting they've got and all that, it's still Bournemouth. They've still got a stadium that holds, 16,000 or whatever it is. There's still a club that's probably a tenth of the size of Manchester United, if we're being honest, not trying to be disrespectful. United should be in a position where we go to places like Bournemouth feeling confident of a win. And you just don't at the minute. There's a reason you don't, because you don't get one. Get involved in the chat in the comments and let us know what you think, what you thought of the game. Daydream83, not necessarily brilliant on the ball, but even someone of the level of Douglas Luiz. I don't know what's going on here. There's different comments going on Patrick Dorgu. We'll get into them in a minute. Hands up for the Panther says, calling out a comment by a person named Techers Only, saying Amarin out with angry emojis. Let's laugh at him, big clowns in the chat. I'm trying to find the... Techers Only has put Amarin out with angry face emojis. Look, if you believe that, if you think that you've seen enough from this season, then you're entitled to your opinion. By all means, get involved in the chat and let us know what you think. I said it during the game. I said it before the game. I'll say it again afterwards the game. I think you have to stick with Ruben Amorim and just sort of give him the time and the backing he needs. He's had 2 transfers in Aidan Evan and Patrick Dorgu, one of which, Aidan Evan, is one for the future, really. I know he's had to play sooner than probably expected because of the injury to Lisandro Martinez, but I don't think you can judge a manager off those 2 signings and what we've seen this season. It hasn't been good enough, but I think he needs more time. He needs a striker, and he needs probably a number 10 as well, if not a number 10 and a wing-back, and probably a midfielder. So I'd like to see him being given proper backing, proper time, and then this time next season is when you can ask me questions about whether I think Ruben Amorim's the right man for the job, because I feel he needs a full campaign. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't think there's any point in trying to judge him now or judge. There's certainly things you can look at and things you go, I'm not sure about this, not sure about that. But he hasn't had the players he needs. He hasn't had the time that he needs. He already came into a team that was 13th. I know people will talk about the points to the top 4 and stuff, but there were 12 teams doing better than us when he got here. Regardless of the points gap, that isn't good. And it's a team that had also, let's not forget, finished 8th last season, which at that point was, I think, one of our lowest Premier League finishes ever, if not our equal lowest Premier League finish ever. So this was already one of the worst United teams in a generation, let alone, taking over the champions or something like that. So yes, I think we probably have gone backwards, but hopefully it's we're reversing out of the car parking space so we can get out of the car park. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes you have to go backwards a little bit. It's not necessarily going to be, he comes in and look, all of a sudden all these players who couldn't finish for a year and a half can now finish. And these players who couldn't pass for a year and a half can now pass. Like, we're seeing a lot of the same things that we saw under Ten Hag as limitations. Our forward line aren't good enough. And you mentioned there about we get the ball in the final third and then where's that extra bit? Look at some of the forwards that the top teams have. We ain't got anyone like anything like those top players. Like, look at Hojlund, look at Saka for Arsenal, look at Salah for Liverpool. You look watching the Copa del Rey final yesterday. You look at Yamal, you look at Mbappe and Vinicius, and these players are genuinely top level players. And it's not just, I haven't just named 1 or 2 teams there. There's most of the top teams have got top strikers. Kane at Bayern. People have top players. It's not unfair for us to hope that one day we'll have some top strikers and top attackers. And when you ain't got that, you're going to miss chances, and that's going to cost you points in games. We need better players, and I think that coming after Amorim, after coming in at the time that he did, and saying you already know he's not good enough, I think it's just setting us up for failure. If that's our standard, you come in, and if it's not amazing straight away, then you're fucked. I just don't think that's going to be fair on anyone personally.
We should know what we were aiming for with Amorim. I don't think we brought in a 39-year-old manager who's never coached in the Premier League before because we expected instant results. I don't think it was a short-term fix. If we wanted a short-term fix, we probably would have gone for someone who's got Premier League experience, who could come in. I'm not saying him, but someone like a Conte-type figure who comes in, probably gives you 18 months where he's quite good for a first year and then it all goes wrong. Someone like that, not him, but someone like that, you come in, okay, let's just fix the problem that's going on under Eric Ten Hag, salvage the season, whatever. When you bring in a 39-year-old and all his coaching staff and you know that he plays a completely different way to the way you're playing at the minute, that's a more long-term situation. That's a more long-term sort of ambition. And I get it, and I think that's what we should be sort of looking through that prism of when we talk about Ruben Amorim. This is a long-term appointment. That's what it should be. Now, I know you could argue, and many will do, well, Erik ten Hag was a long-term appointment. Well, yeah, Erik ten Hag got 2 and a bit seasons, didn't he? So I think you need to give Ruben Amorim at least 1 full season. That's what I'm getting at. I'm not saying you give him, forever, but if we're still sat here next season, me and you, and it's April the 27th or around that time, and United are 14th or 15th of the Premier League, I'll be the first one to go, okay, this isn't working. Yeah. But I don't think that will be the situation.
Also,
I think we'll do better.
Most of the money spent on Ten Hag was spent by Richard Arnold and John Murtagh, people who haven't got the experience in doing those jobs. And obviously, I'm not blaming everything on them and taking everything away from Ten Hag. But I think we've got a different structure now, where you've got people who, Jason Wilcox has been very successful at Man City, looking at youngsters and scouting players. You've got Omar Barada, very successful again at Man City. You've got people in Manchester United now who have been in football for years and decades. You've got transfer people who have been doing this for a long time and been successful at doing it. I would like to think that the next 500 or 600 million, whatever it was that we spent under Ten Hag, the next 600 million quid that we spend on this squad will have us in a much better place than the last 600. I know that some of that was spent by Ineos, but I think the ones they bought in the summer, on the whole, have been good. It's the players before that, the Antonys and the Casemiros and potentially the Onanas and the Hojlunds, where you go, where did that 300 million go? If we can spend the next 600 a lot better, I think Amorim's got a hell of a lot better chance of being here in 2, 3, 5 years' time than Ten Hag ever did.
Yeah, I agree with everything you've just said there, to be honest. If you get involved in the chat in the comments and let us know what you think, let us know about Thursday. This season is all about the Europa League. What did today make you feel towards Thursday, if that makes sense? Because there was a couple of interesting decisions that Ten Hag made, starting Casemiro, starting Mainu.
Amorim made.
Ten Hag, I've got Ten Hag on the brain. Ruben Amorim even. He picks a team, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Starting those players, also brought them all off at the same time. I think Casemiro, Mainu and Maguire all came off around the hour mark.
Yep.
Felt pre-planned. I don't know if it was just a reaction or if that triple substitution was something like, these aren't going to be in my plans on Thursday. Let me know what you think. Do you think that there was anything we can gain from that, from today, looking forward? I mentioned there about Rasmus Hojlund getting a goal, which I think he needs and he needed, because on Thursday, I think he'll play. I think he'll start. We haven't got Xerxes, obviously injured. You can't have Cheeto in the team because he's not eligible. So I expect him to rely on Rasmus Hojlund, and you want him to have a little bit of confidence. David Collett says, take a draw away from home. Mustafa Hassan says, if you think a different coach will get results, you are delusional. Arben Albanoy says, Nico Williams on the counter with the amount of space we're leaving behind scares me. Andy G says, lads, we have to be real here. If Ineos came in and we didn't have Ten Hag, they most likely would have gone for him. Genuinely like Amorim and hope he will do well. But Ten Hag wasn't the problem. Jonathan Rahaman says, Mount needs a start. I get that. I just don't know if I'd start him on Thursday.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would. I'll be honest with you. I've not seen enough from Mason Mount in a United shirt to think he should start the most important game of the season. I just haven't. You may disagree. By all means, get involved in the chat and the comments if you do. I just feel that when we've seen these cameos and stuff, and to be fair, he's not had many opportunities. He's done all right. He's done okay.
I thought it was decent today, but yeah, not
that.
Much
But
more
again,
than
does that warrant a start in a cup final for United? Because I know it's a semi, but it is ultimately a game with the magnitude of a cup final. Not for me. Do you know what I mean? So let me know what you think. Would you start him? Do you think Tony Osuoa says Mount hasn't earned a start in my opinion. CVM says Bilbao will be pressing this team non-stop. The best result would be a draw. People talking about someone's being really harsh on Mount. People talking about Garnacho as well. I mean, do you think there's going to be any drastic changes going into Thursday? Do you think it's going to be the players we expect?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see any sort of shock starts. I'd be surprised if Luke Shaw started. I don't think Mount will start. I think it's going to be pretty much the team that started today, starting that game. Maybe we might see Casemiro and Ugarte start for Mainu. That would be the only change. I think we'll see Casemiro and Ugarte. I think we'll see Mazraoui and Dorgu. I think we'll see Maguire, Maguire, Yoro, and maybe Luke Shaw will be the one that changes. Maybe Lindelof starts that game. But yeah, I don't think we're going to see anything particularly drastic, do you?
Not really. No.
It's good for Hojlund though.
Yeah, it's good for Hojlund. I think Hojlund, and I agree with what you say. He's slightly intriguing for me what he's going to do with the midfield. I think there's still a question mark over whether you're going to see Ugarte and Casemiro with Bruno and Garnacho.
That's what I think will happen.
Yeah. I think that is most likely. Maybe he goes with someone like a Manu, or maybe even more remote is the chance that Mason Mount gets a start. But I think those four are more than likely to start. It'll just be interesting. And plus, you never know. There's 4 days between now and that game. We'll probably pick up an injury or something. You know what I mean? We'll find out that everyone's injured and we're going to have to play the children. Akbar Mia, says, hello guys, off topic. I want to get a camera. Torn between a Sony A74 or the Canon R50. Do you think it's worth getting one, or is an iPhone 13 camera perfectly fine for photos and videos? Joseph, you're our resident camera
I don't know
expert.
those 2 particular cameras you mentioned, but it depends. If you want it for video, then iPhones are pretty good for video. And it costs quite a lot of money to get a camera that's better than an iPhone for film and video. Pictures wise, it's different. You can get something pretty cheap.
Yeah. A full name Huggy says, I can see Manu starting. Tribesman asks, when is Ahmad back? We're hearing he's going to be back in training with the first team next week, I should say. Don't know how long that means between that and you starting for Manchester United or playing for Manchester United. I'm hoping, and it probably more hope than expectation, we'd like to see him in the second leg at Old Trafford. I doubt it though. I think you're probably looking between that game and if we get there, the final. It'd be great if he could come back for the final because we need him for me. Poopy Snoopy says there's no defence for Amorim anymore. He's woeful. Wasim Asfal says think people are giving Bilbao a bit too much respect. They were pretty poor against the very poor Rangers over 2 legs.
And sometimes that happens. Sometimes you play against a team. Like it was Sociedad, wasn't it, that we played, and immediately I just thought, these aren't that good.
Yeah.
I know we made hard work of it because that's what we do. But sometimes you go, actually, there's no guarantee that Bilbao will be this spectacular side. And I do think that, La Liga in general is having a bit of a dip at the moment. Real Madrid look way off it. Atletico are decent but beatable, and, Bilbao are behind them. But I think that, they're up in the Champions League spots. To think that we're going to be able to win comfortably, I think is impossible. But I do agree with your point that they're not guaranteed to be this fantastic Jesus Christ team that we're all worried about. But United don't need to face someone like that in order to lose and draw. So it'll be a good game, I think.
Do you know why the Sociedad game was so good?
Why?
Because they went down to 10 men. It makes a better game of football.
We need people to keep getting sent off.
Why did it get competitive today? Because Bournemouth went down
Why
to
did we
10
score
men.
3 goals in 10 minutes against Leon?
Because they went out to 10 men.
Exactly.
Yeah. You know what to do, referees. Play the game. We're going to leave it there. We're going to be back. Obviously, we're going to be back later on today. We're going to have Andy Tate as well on the channel, him from Stephen Howson. But before we get into all that, make sure you are hitting like, share, and subscribe. That's been Joe Smith. Go and check him out on Sloppy Joe's podcast. I'm Jay Moore. You know where to find me. This has been a review of Manchester United's epic draw at the Vitality. Thanks for watching.